Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
You know, and I stand up here in front of you as an individual, but nothing alone has ever been done good. Or excuse me, nothing great has ever been done alone. An English clergyman once said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main." What he's talking about the body of Christ working together. But also what he's talking about is that we're all a part of a team in some capacity throughout our lives. We are all a piece of the puzzle. We are not the puzzle itself. When we realize that, we're better people.
And with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to Mojave High School in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the 2022 NFL Draft that starts tomorrow. We're almost here. The NFL season is almost upon us for our latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, our last one of this school year. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And before we get started today, a few thank yous and a little bit about what we're about at the Hall of Fame. Our mission is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And the values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which make this guy who's going to be sitting right here in this seat here in a few seconds a Hall of Famer, but it made him a great man, a great member of his family, a great member of his team, his community, and truly can make every student we have tuned in here today, sitting even here in front of us, the best student, best person that they can be. So I'm excited to hear how these values have impacted our special guest, Mr. Rod Woodson, as you saw there in the intro video, his career, both on and off the field. Now, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, you see their logo right here behind me, our great partners at Extreme Networks. Without their support through this entire school year and all of the years in the past, we wouldn't be able to do this program. So first and foremost, thank you to Extreme Networks for everything that you do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and everything you do for schools all over the country. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators, anybody who sent this program out to their students who are tuned in, and especially all of our great students and staff here at Mojave High School who allowed us to come into their school for the program today. And then lastly, and most importantly, have to thank the students. This program here is for you. Nobody wants to hear me ask questions for the next 45 minutes to an hour. We're here to hear your questions. So we're going to be taking some questions from our students right here in Mojave. We've got some awesome school districts connected in from all over the country who are going to be asking questions virtually today as well. So for all of those virtual schools, when I call your school name, have a student step up to the microphone and the camera. Go ahead and unmute your mic, state your name, the school you go to, your grade, and then go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Woodson. For students here, we'll take a couple questions, one or two. I'll just call on whoever raises their hand and have them ask their question. We'll repeat it up here so we make sure everybody can hear it. If you're watching us as a view-only school on Zoom or you're tuned in on Facebook Live, send your comments in. If you have a question, if you're watching us on Zoom, submit it in the chat function. If you're watching us live on the Hall of Fame's Facebook page, go ahead and put that there in the comment section, and we'll do our best to make it a part of the program. So that is enough of me talking. Without further ado, let's welcome to the room Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. If you want to.
I gotta keep it on.
It's kind of important. Unless you don't want to wrinkle it. It's up to you. Up to you.
Okay. I'm a
So
team player.
first and foremost, Mr. Woodson, thank you for being here. We know that everybody's schedule is super busy. Being a former Raider here, the draft is in Las Vegas. Know your week is probably super busy. You already said you got something right after this you got to get to. So we're gonna dive right in. First and foremost, I talked about those values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Now, those are 5 of hundreds, maybe even thousands that you could pick out from the game of football. What out of those 5 stand out as most important to you?
Well, you missed one that we use for the Hall. So you missed its integrity, commitment, integrity, courage, respect, excellence. That's the one that I really want to pick out and talk to you kids about. Just for the fact, excellence is what we repeatedly do. So it's not an act, it's a habit. So if you, and we can have bad habits, right? I know I got some bad habits. I love snacks, right? And as you get older, I'm gonna let you guys know you shouldn't be eating no snacks because it goes into the midsection. All right, but excellence is really about whatever you do over and over again, it becomes a part of you. And you live it really unconscious. So you don't think about breathing, it just become a part of who you are. Athletically, the more you do things on your surface that you play, the better you become. Think about Steph Curry. Steph Curry shoots more shots than almost any other player out there. He's a deadly shooter, yes? Probably the best shooter the NFL or the NBA has ever seen. But it's not because he's done it one time. He does it every single year. That's who he is. It's a part of him, right? LeBron James. LeBron James is a better shooter today, outside shooter, than he was when he was younger. So what has he been doing throughout his career? And he could have been chilling if he wanted to, but he really morphed the way he's played over his career, and he's still one of the best players in basketball today. So if you look at what excellence really is, it's something that you have to do day in and day out. It has to become a part of you. And when you do that, that's when you become excellent at it. If it's a sport, if you guys are football players, you want to train, you can train with your team. And if that's the only time that you train, you're not going to get any better. All right. Academically, you should study every single day. That's one thing I learned when I went to Purdue. Study every single day, every single subject, 5 minutes a day, tap into the long-term memory, you become a better student, right? The little things make you excellent. And I think that's the one thing that I think about when I think about our 5 core values as a Hall of Famer. The excellence part is what separated us from the other players in the league.
You mentioned obviously 2 of the greatest basketball players of my generation, students' generation. Being yourself, being a Hall of Famer, the epitome of your sport at the individual level. How were you able to balance, your success on the field versus your team's success? We talk about humility so much, and when you're that good, how important is it for you to have a high level of humility and knowing that you're a part of something bigger on your entire team?
Well, I don't take myself serious. So, I love sports. I love people. I'm a country boy from Indiana, really, to heart. God just blessed me with the talent that I really didn't know I had. The only reason I started playing football because I had 2 older brothers and they played. So I was trying to hang out with my brothers. And I got a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster every single year. Heck, when I was a junior in high school, I was an honorable mention All-State in football. And if you guys know anything about Indiana, that's not a football state, is it? But something happened from my junior year to my senior year. I grew 2.5 inches in the summer. I gained like 30-something pounds. I got bigger, faster, stronger. I ran track my whole life. I was All-American track runner at Snyder High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when I was a junior. But I love football as a team sport. And so I really never thought about being a great player in that sense. I think when you look at the bigger picture, you know, you're a piece of the puzzle. And I said this in my Hall of Fame speech. I think we're all a piece of the puzzle. We can't take ourselves too serious. And I think the people who have empathy and sympathy for other people who might be going through something, I mean, that's critical to me. So all my friends, we're all very similar in thought. We all believe that we don't take ourselves too serious. And my guys they've accomplished a lot in their lives. But we still want to help other people. We still want to listen to other people. I'm still going to open the door for individuals. I'm gonna let ladies go in first, because gentlemen, that's what you're supposed to do. Y'all hear me? You guys, you hear me? That's what you're supposed to do. All right, so all those little things, you know, is critical to me and what I believe in. And just because I had success on the football field doesn't put me above anybody else.
Kind of along off that, we got a question actually from one of our view-only schools, Sandusky Intermediate up there, or Orlando Pace. Fellow team member at the Hall of Fame review is what kind of generally, what did football teach you about life, and how did you take those life lessons and apply them to your life off the field?
If you work and you work hard, you can accomplish anything. That's really what it taught me. I think sports can teach you guys so much if you let it, because you're going to work hard. If you want to be great at something, you want to be great at sports, you got to spend more time than you do just with your team. You have to work outside of that framework. You have to. And so the question is, you know, do I just want to, every time we practice, I have football practice, we go for 2.5 hours, we might train and run a little bit. Is that it? Or do I want to be that guy? You know, what's your goal? And whatever that goal is, you set it for kind of like a 5-year benchmark, 3-year, 5-year benchmark. And then whatever you do in your life, you do not let anything detour you, your friends, any social things that's going on, you don't let that detour you from what that goal is. And if you can do that, you got to make some hard choices at times. The one thing I could always do in life is that I love being around my guys, but I knew when it was time for me to leave. I did it in college. I've done it when I was a kid, and I do it today. I know when it's not a good place for me to be. So in that mind, you guys all have it in you, right? That little person that's speaking to you, right? And you know, oh man, I shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be there. Get it, get out. They're telling us that inner you is telling you, man, this is not a good spot for me. And normally when you stay, something bad happens. So for me is setting that goal and never detouring from that goal.
Awesome. All right. I think it's a great segue into questions here from our students at Mojave High School. So I know we've got some students who got some questions prepared. So who wants to be the brave one and ask their question right here?
Y'all scared money don't make no money.
All right. That was the first thing I saw. Go ahead right there.
What would be the most, the biggest memory besides being in the Hall of Fame?
Winning the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the goal. The goal for any team is to win a championship, yes? To be the best in your state, or NFL terms, in the world in professional football. I went to my first Super Bowl when I was with the Steelers. We lost in '95. And then in 2000, I went with the Ravens and we won. Then I came here 2 years later, well, not here, but in Oakland. And we went to the Super Bowl and we lost to Tampa Bay. So I went to 3. So when the confetti falls down and it's yours, it feels really good. So I think that's the one thing out of everything I've done. It's that I have a positive memory with it.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. You know, the idea of, you said, you know, you went to Super Bowl with the Raiders, but it wasn't here. And it's a really unique comparison. I think, you know, we did a program earlier this year with Robert Brazil, and I asked him about what it meant to be accepted by the Titans organization, even though he never played for the Titans, though he played for the Oilers, you know, who turned into the Titans. So for you, first part of the question, and we'll start with, is, you know, seeing it on the after you were completed, after your career was over. What was that, change like to be an alumni of a team that is in a new city? And how do you, as that alumni, embrace that new city, here in Las Vegas?
Well, I do have history in Las Vegas. So my grandmother lived here. I went to school here in 6th grade on the east side. I can't remember the name of the school. She lived here forever, and then she moved out to Jean, Nevada. When she got a little bit older, body started breaking down. Then we moved her back over to the East Coast where most of the kids were at. So I had that history here. But the great thing about being with a team like the Raiders, it's an iconic team. It really is. You say silver and black, what you're only talking about one team. You're not talking about the San Antonio Spurs. When you say silver and black, everybody in the world knows you're talking about the Raiders, because they just know that's silver and black symbolizes who the Raiders are. And it's just a great organization. I mean, my childhood team, and I love the Rooney family, the black and gold. I mean, my high school was black and gold. Purdue was black and gold. The Steelers are black and gold. So I have black and gold in my blood. But my youth football team was the Power Raiders, 9 years old to 12 years old. We Power Raiders. So, back then we didn't have DirecTV and apps and all that junk that you guys can watch today. We had 3 channels, and we only watched the really good teams. And the good teams back then were the Raiders, the Steelers, the 49ers, the Cowboys. Those are the good teams. But the Raiders were my team because I played for them. So I got to play for the Raiders when I was 9 years old. Full circle. I got to come back and play with them, then come back full circle again 10 years later and coach with them. So the Raiders are a part of who I am. It's one of my childhood dreams to be in that uniform. So, coming here, the first thing is they have a great staff for the alumni. They've done a wonderful job. I think especially moving here, just having the alumni involved in a new community. And hopefully over the years, and the second generations, third generation youth will become Raider fans. And, so they do so many community outreach things, but they also have reached out to us as ex-players to come out to help in those capacities. And it's been awesome.
So what does the phrase "once a Raider, always a Raider" mean to you?
Oh, heck, I mean, it's forever. You're a lifer. I mean, it is. I mean, I'm biracial in life. Black father, white mother. I'm biracial in football. That's what I am. I love the Steelers. I love the Ravens for giving me that opportunity. But I also love the Raiders. And, people always want you to pick, right? And in my life, people wanted me to pick, like, what are you? Are you black? You white? What are you? I'm like, I'm both. So they asked me in football, what are you? You a Raider? You a Steeler? I'm not. I'm all of them. I'm a jambalaya. I should have been from down in New Orleans. Should have been Creole, because it's a bunch of different races together, right? I mean, that's what I am. So I'm proud of it, and I have no shame about that.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna go now to a school that's got a really special connection to you, Snyder High School. They're your alma mater there. So everybody there at Snyder High School, go ahead and have your students step up to the mic, and then go ahead and ask your question here for Mr. Woodson. Looks like we got a student walking up there. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
So I have a couple questions. What did Snyder High School, how did that shape you into the man you are today?
Oh man, we worked our butts off. I remember they can't do it today because coaches will get fired. The stuff that they did to us. But we worked. I mean, I was bussed out from the South Side, and that was when busing just started. So from junior high, we got bussed out from the South Side to the North, and we were at Blackhawk. But going over to Snyder, and those Holly and Isaacs and Russ and all those guys as our coaches really asked us to be better than what we were at the time. And really, not just them, but Jim Grinnell, who was my track coach. I mean, I remember we had to run 400 or mile relays consistently. So first leg went, second leg went, and I'm not a mile relay guy. I don't like running a 400. So the third 400, I pass out. I mean, I literally backstretch, it went dark. I'm on the ground, I wake up, he over top of me, kicking me in my feet, going, get up, get up. I got up, walked around, had to run it again. I mean, it taught me how to work, but then being also from Fort Wayne, which is a blue collar city, that's what my dad did his whole life. So he came in and greased his hands, his nails. And, so playing football was just a sport, but it taught me how to work hard in and out of sports itself.
Awesome. Apologize for the bell. We are in a school, so we're going to get some bells that ring every once in a while. We're going to go out now to a school right here in Clark County, Sunrise Mountain High School, for our next question. So whenever you have a question ready there, students at Sunrise Mountain, go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yep, we got you. We got you.
Hello, my name is Tawan. And my question for you today is, how was your? Dang, I forgot the question. I'm sorry, but hold on. The question was, how did you overcome like your challenges in high school, like with the distractions and stuff?
So distractions, high school, college, how'd you overcome them?
In high school.
Yeah, how did I overcome the distractions in high school? Like I said, I was never afraid to kind of be that salmon swimming upstream, doing it by myself. Everybody has the analogy of being a tiger and a lion, right? My analogy is always the lone wolf. Your strongest path is normally built when you do it alone. And you never see a wolf in a circus, but you do see a lion and tiger in a circus. So they can be tamed. So that was my mentality throughout my whole life. But I always knew that I could be different. Like if my guys are going to go out, yeah, I want to go out with my guys, but I'm not going to stay with you all night. And I mean, I did it in high school. We would go out, obviously. But when I knew I had to go home, I went home. They didn't like it, but they were some of my good friends. And I'll tell you this about friendship. Real friends never make other friends do something they're uncomfortable doing, ever. And really what you do, you back your friends when somebody else says something to them about doing something they're uncomfortable doing. So I have a really small group of really, really good friends, and we all think alike. And I would never let anybody harm them in any way, any form, any fashion from high school to now. And I think that's critical. But when you talk about going a different way, you just have to make sure that you're not going down that same path everybody wants to go down. And if you want to be something different, you have to do something different.
Awesome. All right. I think our next question will stay with our students. We're going to go to Tri-Valley High School back home, Northeast Ohio. Or excuse me, no, wrong Tri-Valley. Tri-Valley in New York. New York. So not back home. So we're going to go there to our students at Tri-Valley. Go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question here for Mr. Woodson.
All right. My name's Ethan. I was wondering what your hardest obstacle was in your career.
Hardest obstacle in your career.
Hardest obstacle in my career. That's a good one. I never really thought about that. I think complacency could have been. I was a 10th player taken. I was an All-American in track. I was an All-American in football. I was an All-American when I went to Purdue in track and in football. I was a top 10 pick in the draft. I could have thought I was all that. And my first couple of years I did. And one of my coaches really challenged me to become more than just an athlete. Okay. And one of my coaches challenged me to be more than an athlete. He asked me to learn the game. So I think for me, learning the game and not being complacent. And then when a guy named, a lot of you guys probably never heard of him, but it's like a guy named Carnell Lake came into the Pittsburgh Steelers organization 2 years later. Him and I worked out like crazy. He's a workout maniac. He worked out way more than I did. But so I could have been complacent where I was already, you know, a Pro Bowler and saying, I already made it, I already did that. But I didn't, I wanted more. And I wanted to really try to be the best I could be every single day. And that's what I challenge you guys to do. You know, try to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today. And the only way you can do that is be honest to yourself. So when you look in the mirror, you're not telling yourself lies. Like you're being, but you be 100 with yourself. All right. And that honesty will help you down the line. And I think that was my biggest thing that I had to do.
You know, you talked about mentioning some former people. You know, you've mentioned the Rooneys a few times playing with the Steelers organization. Obviously, you're the team with the Raiders as well. You know, NFL drafts tomorrow. So a lot of people's NFL career, a lot of players' NFL careers are going to get started. One of our favorite questions to ask is, you know, what was your welcome to the NFL moment? When did you step back and realize, holy crap, I'm here, I made it? Was it when you saw a guy in the locker room that you maybe idolized growing up? Was it lining up on defense across from a wide receiver that now maybe be in the Hall of Fame? What was that moment for you?
Well, it was two of them. One was, and I said this story just a little bit ago, you know, back when I came in the league, they still can smoke on the sideline, in the locker rooms. I mean, I had coaches smoking on the sideline, calling defenses. I mean, that's how it was. But I remember I was in the locker room and I'm like, you know, my first game, I'm like smelling, and I held out. So I'll tell you a story. I held out from the Steelers to October 28th. So I only played like 5 games my rookie year. You know, it was all about money. And, you know, they offered me a certain amount of money. I said it wasn't enough. They were like, you're missing a lot of money. I was like, man, I never had money. I don't know what it feels like to have money. So until you want to kind of come to a mutual agreement, then we can talk. And, but so with that being said, I get in October 28th, I play my first game. I go in halftime, I smell smoke, somebody smoking cigarettes. I'm walking around like, who is smoking? And I come out, and John Stallworth, which is a Hall of Fame receiver for the Steelers, is sitting on the training table smoking a cigarette. I'm like, okay, I'm not in college anymore. That was my first. And then my second is we played the New Orleans Saints later that year, and I was a kick returner. Well, in high school and college, you know, as you're a kick returner, that hole opens up, well, it stays open. Well, I don't stay open in the pros. So I caught it, I'm running, and you know, I'm thinking I'm fast enough to get through that little crack right there. As soon as I went there, I got hit, ball went that way, I went that way. I mean, they got the ball back, we lost. I mean, I felt terrible, but that was my moment like, hey, this is a lot faster. Everybody can run. When guys that are 6'8", 330 pounds can run a 4.6 40, everybody can run in the National Football League. So those are my two moments.
Probably a shocking moment, especially the hit, obviously.
Kind
of welcome you, say, yep, all right, rookie, you're here. You know, we talked about obviously the beginning of your career, that welcome to the NFL moment. You know, you go throughout your career, obviously a Hall of Fame worthy career that is now preserved in Canton, Ohio. You've got the gold jacket on, you've got the K Jewelers Ring of Excellence, your bronze bust is on display in Canton, Ohio, memorializing your career. So part of what we do at the Hall of Fame is, you know, we preserve that history. We honor those heroes that made the game what it is today. So we thought, what better way to showcase that than to go live to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to our museum. John Kendall, Vice President of Football, our Archives, Education, and Football Information, is live behind the scenes. So students who are tuning in today, not everybody who comes and visits the Hall of Fame gets to see this. So you guys are getting to see something that not everybody gets to see. And John's going to talk a little bit about what the Hall of Fame does as far as when it comes to preserving history, and might have a few of Mr. Woodson's artifacts to show him as well. So John, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Appreciate it, Jake. Rod, thank you for all you've done for the game. Thank you for all you do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and giving back to these students and sharing your story. Right now, I'm standing in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center, and less than 1% of our entire, less than 1% of our collection is on display for visitors to see. So as we preserve the history of the game, and we constantly are trying to rotate those artifacts on display, the rest of it is preserved here in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center. So we have artifacts, documents, related photographic images related to not just the history of the game, but every one of those players, coaches, and contributors who built the game to what it is today. And so I pulled a few things out today just to show you some examples. You know, we have over 55,000 game programs in our collection. Some of them go back to 1880 season. This is a college football program from Princeton versus Yale, first ever college football championship game. Program from to the Chicago Tribune charity football game that pitted the college all-stars of a given season versus the NFL champions, something that will never happen again. There's too much at stake for all parties involved. We talk about the draft. Since 1997, we've received the draft card of every player drafted into the National Football League. So by far, one of our more famous draft cards there, Tom Brady, the 199 pick in the 2000 NFL draft. So a lot of great material, coaching materials like Vince Lombardi overhead gel, jersey from the 1927 season, and then some of the artifacts related specifically to your career, Rod, which was a Hall of Fame career. 1994, you wore these uniforms in one of the games. This is a throwback Pittsburgh Steelers jersey that you donated to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We've got a large photo collection. We've got a lot of newspaper articles that track your career, that we can help tell your story and preserve your legacy. This is a game ball that was awarded to you in 2002, and it's pretty unique. It's got 3 Hall of Famers on there that broke records, career records. You had 3 interceptions. You were the NFL all-time leader in interception return yardage with 1,339 yards. So that was the ball from the Raiders. And then this is a media guide bio from your rookie season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And these are just a few things that we have, but we have over 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images, and close to 30,000 artifacts that we have that can help us tell not only the history of your career, but the history of every player, coach, and contributor. And I do have a quick question for you. You've mentioned a couple times about you being a multi-sport athlete. And I want to get your opinion on something, because we're in an era now where everything is streamlined and everything is specialized. But what do you think the advantages are to being a multi-sport athlete?
I mean, I just believe, since I was born north of the Mississippi, right? So we had different climate changes and different seasons. So, you had to back then play multiple sports. So I ran track, played football, played basketball. It fires different muscle groupings. I know everybody, coaches across the country, high school coaches across the country, they're kind of selfish. They want to have the best programs. They want to keep their guys in their programs. But I believe 2 things. All the guys who play sports and girls who play sports who don't have to do anything in the spring, you should run track. You cannot be fast if you don't run fast. You can jog all you want to, because you can jog like I do now, and a slow twitch that's all you're gonna get. That's all I got left. But the only way you can be fast is to run fast. And if you train in track and then you go back to football, that's not the same training. It's not. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, you think you run in football, but you got a little equipment on, you do some gassers and all that stuff. Run some 150s, 200s, do ladders, do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then go back and play football. You're not even training anymore. So I really believe in playing multiple sports, so it fires different muscle groupings. I've always believed in it. I don't like coaches who are selfish with the kid, because they really don't care about the kid. They just care about their program. And I would tell you kids to fight that mantra that these coaches want to have. And if you know another sport can help you, promote you in some capacity, then do it at your best.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do. And Jake, I'll throw it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Thanks for a live look in there into the Hall of Fame. And I kind of want to jump off that question. How much did it help you specifically, especially going, you talked to your, obviously drafts tomorrow, top 10 pick. How did that help you in all facets of your football game? You were you played offense, you played defense, and you were a special team star at Purdue. How did playing all those sports help your football career that ultimately led you to that status, that top 10 pick?
Well, I mean, track was my first love because I was really good at it, right? I mean, when you're good at something, you like it better. It was my first love. And track, you think about it, it is a team. It's a team sport, yes, because you got field events, but they got 9 lanes on a track for a reason. They got 9 lanes on a track for a reason. So you can go against your own teammates. So even though I like my boy, we gonna line up for the 100. No, you getting it. You gonna get this for about at 10.4 seconds. That's as long as it take me to get down there. You're gonna get it. And then when we get down, we still boys though, right? So I love football. I mean, I love track because it had that element of it. Where football I love because I had to work with other people. You can't be selfish in football because this is the ultimate team sport. You can't be selfish in football and be great as a team. But I thought track helped me, and really training for track helped me in the off season. When Carnell and I, and everybody says they train. I'm just going to give you a quick example. We had a couple guys that played for the Steelers said that they train all the time and we do this, we do that. And we're like, okay, well, just come and meet us. Don't go swimming because we would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go swimming, do a swim workout. Me, Carnell, Merrill Hodge. From there, Carnell and I would go to Carnegie Mellon track and do a track workout. Then from there, we'll go to Three River Stadium, do our lifting. And then from there, we'll go to the field. I didn't get done training to about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every single day, all summer long. For 17 years. That's what I did. And we had a couple guys said that they train, they do this, they do that. We're like, okay, well, just don't even come swimming. Don't meet us in the weight room. You just meet us at the track. We had a couple guys meet us at the track. The couple times they did. The one time we ran a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. We ran a 1, 2, 3. Didn't see him anymore. It was like, where'd he go? And he was a really good player now. I mean, this dude was a perennial Pro Bowler. You guys you'll know his name if I said it, which I'm not going to say. I'm not going to call him out like that. But he was chucking it up under a bush. And me and Carnell kept on laughing, walked around, did our 4, and then we did our ladder back down. So training in track helped me in football because when I came back to practice in football, I wasn't even thinking about being tired. Running a 40, so I was just running 400s. I mean, so it wasn't even a big deal to me. And it really made me better in football because now in the fourth quarter, when you want to be at your best, I was trained to that level. And, your body, guys, when you're tired, what did your body tell you to do? Shut that thing down. Let's shut this thing down. But when you train and your mind gets strong enough, now your mind can overcome that and say, no. We got 10 more minutes. Let's do this thing. And that's where track and football came together for me.
Obviously turned out pretty well. I got some more schools we got to get some questions from. So we're going to go, now this one's in Ohio, to Indian Valley for our next question. So students there at Indian Valley, go ahead and step up to the mic, state your name, and ask your question here for Mr. Woodson. Got to unmute the mic first. There we go. All right, go ahead.
All right. My name is Braden Galloway from Indian Valley. We were wondering who your biggest influence was and how that impacted your football career.
Oh, biggest influence. I had really a couple individuals, but I would say if I had to pick one, it was my dad. Just for the fact that didn't have a college education, didn't get his GED, but he worked 2 jobs, worked his butt off for us. And most guys are mama boys. I was a daddy's boy, kind of flipped it. He didn't take life serious. He was always joking around. He's always playing games with us, telling us little fibs here and there. And that's how I lived my life. But he just showed me how hard that he had to work so we can keep the lights on. I mean, when you don't have that money, when you got that ketchup bottle, you got to put water in it, shake that thing up to get the rest of the ketchup up out of there. You don't got no money, right? That's how it was. At college, we didn't have year-round training table. I remember walking around Purdue my sophomore year with a quarter in my pocket and couldn't eat. And if my coaches gave me money, they would get in trouble. I mean, so my dad just showed me how to overcome all that. And so I would say he was my biggest influence in the mindset that I don't take this stuff too serious. I like to have fun. You know, my kids don't say that, they call me grumpy, but I do like to have fun. But at the end, I know football, like playing it, coaching it, being around it, it's not really work. Because guys who really work blue collar work jobs, that's work. When you go to a place, into a factory, grease under your nails, and you get your check and go, that's work.
All right. I love that. You know, Midwest, obviously, it's what the Midwest is known for, that grit that not only teaches, like you said there, that hard work, but it teaches you how to be, you know, a great person because you have to go through some of those trials that make you who you are. Next question we're going to take is from Belmont County. So our students there at Belmont County, go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, and then ask your question here for Mr. Woodson. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
What was your favorite thing as a kid?
My favorite thing as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was my favorite thing was summertime, obviously. We don't got no school. We used to go to Memorial Park. We used to get up 8 o'clock, go to Memorial Park. I swam. The first thing I've ever did in my life, I swam competitive. It's the first thing I've ever did. We went to our little city park, Memorial Park, and we would stand in line. We would get there before they take the board off, where you got to pay your little 25 cents to get in. And then at lunch, we would go to the pavilion, get free lunches from the city, come back, finish up swimming and playing around in the pool. After that, we had swim practice. And then I had to walk back home to be home before the light came on. I did that all summer. Loved it. I mean, you don't got to go to school. You don't got to do schoolwork. That's the best part about being a kid. So, I mean, that part about it was fun, being around my guys every single day, competing, swimming, you know, so that's the one thing that I enjoyed.
Awesome. All right, got one more school we got to get to, so I want to make sure we get that question. We're going to go to Clark High School right here in Clark County for our next question. So our students there at Clark County, go ahead, or Clark High School, go ahead and step up to the mic, state your name, and then go ahead and ask your question.
Go ahead. My name is Malik, and I was asking.
Get in the camera.
I'm in the camera. Oh, my name is Malik, and I was gonna ask any advice you give me think about the game on all levels, in terms of like competition and mentally.
Well, that's a deep question there, fella. How much time do we got? To make it simple, because you asked a couple of different levels. You know, I would say as a high schooler, you're still learning the game. Still remember, it's still a game, right? And still enjoy it. At the end, it's a football game. You're running a track meet, but it's all the stuff that we do in sports, especially in the pros. You get paid extremely well for it. But at the end of the day, does it change society? Not really. It brings people together inside of a building sometimes, who normally wouldn't come in the same building, right? That's the one thing I like about sports. But I would say for the bigger purpose for you, like, I would say, don't be afraid to stand alone. You know, everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants to be with the group. Everybody wants to be with the cool guys. Do not be afraid to stand alone, especially when you know you're right. All right, so that's the one piece of advice I have for not only you, but for all you guys, is that everybody in high school wants to feel that they want to be a part of something. And if you know that something is wrong, man, don't be afraid to step away from it. Don't be afraid, because they're not your real friends. If they want you to do something wrong, they're not your real friends. I'm telling you. And you'll figure it out as you go on, as you get older. But I would say that's one piece of advice. Just don't be afraid to stand alone.
Awesome. So we've already seen, behind the scenes there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So we're going to now go to probably the most popular part of our museum, and that's our Hall of Fame gallery, where there are over 360 bronze busts on display signifying our Hall of Famers, or 360 after we get this new class in here in August. So I'm gonna throw it out to Jerry Shockey, Director of Youth and Education at the Hall of Fame, who's in front of a bronze bust that probably looks a little familiar to you.
I have not seen that one since we put it in there.
All righty, Jake, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you, Jerry.
Perfect. I want to say good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Jerry Shockey. I'm the Director of Youth and Education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we are in the Hall of Fame gallery, the most iconic gallery here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And just to give you an idea, to put things in perspective of, who you have in front of you, not only just, first and foremost, the person that he is. I've gotten to know Rod a little bit over the years. We've done programs and stuff together in the past, and just one word that always strikes me with him is humility, and being a humble person, despite the platform he's been given. So, but just to give you an idea of how big of an honor it is to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, think about this just for a second, okay? There have been over 300 million people to play the game at all levels throughout the history of football, okay? There have been 5 million that have played it at the college level, and over 29,000 people to either play, coach, or administrate the game of professional football. And there are only 362 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or 354 bronze busts here on display. So that gives you an idea of just how big, how elite the company here is, and the company that, especially the students that are hosting live in Mojave, the greatness that's in front of you. And so I just have a question for you, Rod, is if you could have played with another Hall of Famer of your choice, anyone, going back from our first class in '63 to even today, even 2021, who would you choose?
Probably another defensive back, probably Night Train Lane. Night Train Lane, he was before his time. I mean, dude was massive, and I was blessed to have Dick LeBeau as one of my coaches who played with Night Train Lane. And he told me all these stories about him. So, I met his extended family, but if I got to play with anyone, he would have been that guy. He would have, he was before his time.
And I don't know if any of you students know who that is, but just watch videos of Night Train Lane hitting people. So most of his hits will be considered illegal today.
They won't allow it today.
We just had a fan walking by saying they won't allow that today. So thank you, Mr. Woodson. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the students that are tuned in here today. And Jake, I'm gonna send it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. I got a couple more minutes here before we wrap up the program. So we've mentioned it a few times in passing. Got to talk a little bit about why the NFL, the eyes of the NFL are on Las Vegas here, and that's the NFL draft. And first, I want to start, what was your draft experience like the day you got drafted? Top 10, so you probably had a pretty good idea that day one you were going to get that phone call. What was that moment like, finally seeing that call come through, knowing that you were going to play at the next level?
Yeah, I was sitting in my hometown, Fort Wayne, Indiana, with my mom's and dad's house on Jefferson Boulevard. And I never talked to the Steelers. I talked to quite a few teams, but never talked to Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was a defensive coordinator and a defensive back coach when I was there, or before I got there. Never talked to anybody from there. And then, everybody had me going around 5. And then I think at 5, it was a linebacker taken from Duke. And then there was another quarterback taken, and everybody was like, what the heck? And it threw the draft off a little bit, right? So they're slotting. Well, it really was a blessing in disguise for me, because, the earlier you pick, the worst team you go to, right? And even though the Steelers weren't this dominant Steelers of the 70s of winning the Super Bowls in the late 80s, right? They were still, or the 80s, they still had a standard of excellence in their core. And I remember the 5th pick, they called the name out, and then my phone rings, and it's the New Orleans Saints. And they're like, if you're there at 11, we're taking you. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I know at least by 11, I'm gonna be taken. And then picks 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 comes up, and phone rings in the Steelers, and it's Chuck Noll. And he's like, you mind us taking you? I'm like, nope. Let's do this. And, it was a blessing in disguise because the Steelers way, if anybody know anything about the Steelers, is like their motto is the standard is the standard. They've only had 3 coaches in the history of their franchise, in their history of their franchise, 3 coaches, that's it. Right. So they see the game a little bit differently. The way they go about things is a little bit different. So it was great for me to have that a part of who I was as a young kid, because I was a little knucklehead, stupid kid. I can tell you that. I did some stupid things, but I learned. I just remember that time when the phone rang and it was them, that it was going to be a great opportunity.
So let's say hypothetically, we've obviously got some awesome students here in front of us today, but let's say all these students were replaced by potential first-round picks. You have Aiden Hutchinson sitting out here, Kayvon Thibodeau, all the wide receivers who are going to get picked that first round. What would your one piece of advice be to them going into tomorrow night, knowing that their name's going to be called sometime?
Yeah, well, it'd be 2 things. First, learn the game. The game is played more mental than physical. So most of the guys who don these see the game in a different aspect than everybody else. You can learn systems. Everybody has a system, right? So everybody can learn a system. But when you learn the game and learn how the game is played, those guys elevate themselves, and you kind of put that back in your practices from your self-study, from your coaches, from your peers. You put that back in your practices every day and back on game day. They normally separate themselves from all the other guys. And those guys, if you talk to people who have Go Jackets, they know ball. And it's not the normal way of just saying semantically, this is what we do on this play. They see the game a little bit different. And secondly, don't be afraid to say no. That's what I would tell them, because they make a lot of money nowadays. And I know everybody wants to take care of their mom and dad, which I did too, right? That's what I did. But you'll see a lot of different people come their way. They're going to ask for the money. They're going to have their hands out. And you got to be willing to say no to them. And it'll be family members. It'll be brothers, sisters, cousins, extended cousins. Everybody is coming for that bank, right? And you have to be willing to say, I love you. I could maybe help you with a loan. You got to pay it back. If they want you to just to borrow money or try to find some type of scheme and investment, it's absolutely not. So you have to learn that.
A lot of lives are going to be changed here in the next couple of days here in Las Vegas for sure. A couple more questions. If anybody's been tuning into football news, we know we've got the USFL just started, the XFL is coming, and you were named head coach of one of the XFL teams. What is it like for you to jump back into coaching, and what are you most excited for with that new job coming your way?
Yeah, I'm excited just for the fact that we get to pour into. We're going to have about 53 guys, so to pour into their lives on a daily basis, but not just ball. I mean, because to me, a great coach is a coach that can give you, yes, obviously doing the right thing and putting you in position to make plays, but also guiding you in life. Because they're young. These guys are still 23, 20. When I was 23, 24, man, I'm just letting you guys know when I was stupid. Right? We just didn't have social media. So you don't know what I did. Right. So I was stupid. So I'm talking to myself, looking at them. So all the guys that, I would have on my coaching staff is going to be really pouring into their lives, just teaching ball, not schematically, but teaching ball in general so they can play in any system. And then teaching them how to be a better person. And I think that's what I'm going to enjoy more than anything else.
Still my question, I was going to ask about coaching the player versus coaching the individual and how important that is you as a coach. Looking back on your career, and then we'll get to our last question here. Did you have a coach that did that to you? Was there somebody that, we all know who Tony Dungy is and the great individual that he is. Was there a coach that kind of poured into you when you came into the league to help, not calling you stupid, but fix that stupid self that you said?
No. I was blessed because I had Tony when I first got there for my first 2 years. And if anybody knows who Tony Dungy is, he never raises his voice. He doesn't even fluctuate his voice at you on the field. which I needed my first couple of years. And Chuck Noll told me when I first came into the building, the game is played 2-to-1 mental to physical because everybody's talented. How do you separate yourselves? Well, I needed Tony when I first came in because I was a safety my whole life. And then I ran my 40, I ran my 4.3 up the flat. And they were like, no, you're gonna play corner. And I'm like, what? No, I'm a safety. And so I needed Tony to teach me and love on me. And, you know, because I would do some stupid things and I would come back to the sideline and he would just kind of look at me and say, son, what were you thinking about? I'm like, I don't know. And he was like, well, you might want to think about A, B, or C. So I needed Tony. And then after Tony left, the same thing that Chuck told me, you learned in the game, mental to physical, a guy named Rod Russ comes in. Rod says the exact same thing what Tony was saying, but he's cussing me out while he's saying it. And then but he's the one to challenge me as a man to learn the game. He's like, you need to learn this game more mental than physical because you're physically capable, but you need to learn the game. And I was like, I'm not married. I don't got no girlfriend. Teach me. And me and him in the summertime sat in his room and he taught me what offenses do to defenses and how they shift and how many formations they can get into, which is only 5, but they do it different personnel groupings. And about week 4, that green light clicked on. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is all they do. Everybody? He said, yeah, this is it. He said, all you got to do is believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be. And this is still what they do. Today is everything that he taught me is what they do today because offenses are built on formations. And inside of those formations and personnels, they're going to only run so many plays. It'll be the same plays from different personnel groupings. And that's when I was like, okay. And so those 2 guys, I needed Tony when I first came in to get my confidence, but I needed Rod when, you know, at that point where he needed to challenge me as a man. And then I got Dick LeBeau, Dom Capers, and Bill Cowher after that. So in my 10 years in Pittsburgh, I got a slew of knowledge from those individuals.
A lot of Hall of Famers in that sense there too.
Quite a few Hall of Famers in there.
Last question here today. And first and again, I want to thank you for being a part of the program and students all over. I hope you took a little bit away from this program today about how important the game of football is and whatever sports you might play, because all the things we talked about today can be learned in anything that you guys like to do. So last question along that same idea. Everybody that walks away from the program today, whether they're here, whether it's me, whether it's somebody watching this 6 months down the road on YouTube, what is one thing you want them to take away from today? If they can only remember one thing, what's that one piece of advice you want them to have?
I said it. Don't be afraid to stand alone. You guys are going to be pressured to do some things, asked to do some things, and you know it's wrong. You're going to be in a place and your internal yous are going to say you shouldn't be there. Have the courage to walk away. Have the courage to get out of there. And I'll tell you a quick story. I'm in the league. First 2 years, I go back home to Fort Wayne. I'm at a house party. All my boys smoking weed, drinking, and I'm sitting on the wall. I remember it was right by the door. I'm sitting on the wall and I'm like, do I stay, kick it with my boys, or do I take this opportunity given to me in my life and get? And I sat there for about 10 minutes and I was like, hey man, I'll see you guys later. I'll see you tomorrow. That's the last time I saw most of them. And I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep doing that and being in that little box? Or do I want to take the opportunity that God has given me to play a professional sport and have a platform and use it? And I was like, I'm out. And I mean, most of those guys, some of those guys, a couple of those guys we're still really close friends. I still talk to them. The rest of them, a couple of them got killed following week, a couple years after that. You know, it's a choice I had to make. And those are hard choices for you guys. They're going to be, because they're your friends. I mean, you're even kicking it with them, right? But if you have an opportunity, you got to make tough decisions. And I'm just telling you guys, have the courage to make that tough decision in that one moment. It can be a life changer. It really can. Because, you know, one of our sayings with my group is the same thing to make you laugh or make you cry. So when it's all going good, you be hee hee ha ha. When that one thing turns wrong, it can be tragic. So I'm just saying, don't be afraid to take that stand when everybody else is going one way to go the other. Be that lone wolf. And it's a path that's, it's not too well walked, but it makes you so much stronger. Because in my life today, I don't have a problem at all telling somebody no. I'm very cordial about that. Right? I'm very cordial about saying no to them. But I don't have a, it's not hard for me to walk by myself. It really isn't. And I'm just asking you guys to have that courage, because it's going to take some. It's going to take some to have when you have that one moment in your life that you have to make a decision. And it's going to be a hard one. And it'll be some of your boys, and your boys be calling you an Uncle Tom and all that crap. Yeah, forget that. If he calling you Uncle Tom, he ain't your boy. I'll tell you that right now. All right. So take that stand when you have to take the stand.
We're gonna spend all hour on that one right there. That is gonna wrap up this installment, this school year of our Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Network. So I want to thank you from myself, from Jerry, Nathan, all the way up to Mr. Porter, our president at the Hall of Fame. Thank you for being a part of the program today. Thank you for everything you've done for the game of football and everything you do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I like to say the game of football wouldn't be like it is today without our Hall of Famers influence, and it's 100% true. So thank you for everything you've done for the game of football, and truly thank you for being a part of the program today.
My pleasure.
Let's give Mr. Rob Woodson one big round of applause. To all of our student staff here at Mojave, thank you so much. To all of our students who tuned in for this program and every program we've done this year, everybody who's tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you so much. We hope to see you next school year. So again, for myself, for Mr. Woodson, and all everybody here in Las Vegas, tune into the draft tomorrow night, and we'll see you next school year. Thank you, everybody.